Hello. I'm talking to myself, really. I've gone through all my archives in terms of songs that I'd written, planned, demoed, etc. And I think it's worth uploading. I think it's worth putting up on the channel. To mind that there's an intro track which is on some of the live videos, Cthulhu for Tuggen. There is a completely new song with vocals and everything. It's all finished as a demo, but I wasn't happy with the sound. I'll put that one up too, which is called The Maxim. There is Insurrect with no vocals, no lyrics on it. Obviously vocals and lyrics were written. It's like that for a lot of these tracks. Some of them have some demo vocals in places. Some of them have a little bit of a click track or some basic drums, which is just like a kick and a snare with a click track. And there's a few guitar solos, some by me, some by Nicky Van Hoek, some by my guitar teacher at the time, Chris Francis, great guitar player. It's going to be hard. It's going to be tricky sorting this out. There's a lot of it, and I'm uploading it for me because it's like me sat at home playing guitar years ago when I still could play guitar, until the mysterious ailment robbed me of my my passion, if you like. So there's riffs in there that I'm really proud of. And I know it's conceited of me, but I would even invite other people in the future, like if you like this demoed out track, if you really like it, take it, turn it into a song, just credit me as the writer. Any really experienced guitar player would be able to at least almost entirely work out or transcribe the riffs, but you'll have no idea of the lyrics that I had, because they've all got lyrics unless it's an instrumental. They all had beats in my mind in a certain way. So yeah, I'm just doing it for me because I think it'd be a shame not to put this stuff up. It would be a shame if some of the best riffs I've ever written, and some of the songs I did get some help. There are a couple of riffs here and there donated by Nicky Van Hoek. But I'll obviously credit that here and there as appropriate. Dates are difficult. It's difficult to know exactly when something was written, or sometimes it was written 2004 or so and wasn't finally recorded till 2010. So it's all a bit tricky. Doesn't really matter, but I'm a natural archivist, so again, for me, I like to put as much information as possible. There might be a couple of things I've forgotten as well that I've been digging through. But there is one full track when I was doing the synthetic metal. I did plan to put guitar on this track because it's with the a sort of death metal tremolo picking style that involved holding the hand and holding the pick in a certain position, which I could just about manage. But you see, I haven't got the recording facilities explained in I think it's the last video that I put up explains the reasons why. But it would be nice to throw everything down. Like this is everything that I have. So there's going to be a few videos that are just unless you're a nerdy guitar player and you're interested to know what was on the horizon, if Jekazol could have ultimately succeeded as a full gigging band making albums, even if that was going to be 2 or 3 people or whatever. You see, it was kind of overly ambitious, really, and I was extremely perfectionist. But thank God I recorded demos and said, that guitar playing, that's fine, and I'll record a better version later. And often that demo version ended up being the full version, and with a little bit of time and distance you realize it's fine. And you see, you have to capture the moment. You can't write a song and come back to it many years later and it be the same. You can, but it's, time has moved on, really. So there is one track which features no guitar whatsoever, like some of the more, well, I say recent videos when you look at the videos, but they are quite old now. Again, probably written around about, 2012 or something, maybe a little bit later, 2013, 14, got no way of really finding out without a lot of digging into old notebooks and things like that, which is not really practical right now. So this fully realized synthetic metal new track, I had lyrics for it, but only the chorus. I may or may not just chuck something on in terms of whatever I can do with my phone, I'm not sure, but this track is called Nyarlathotep, and there is a strong theme of H.P. Lovecraft running through the stuff. There's a strong theme of a very sort of British metal, very European vibe running through it. And there's a lot of Near Eastern sounding stuff. So it just relates to my other channel, this word that I coined, Celto-Egyptian. It's like the further I look back, it's like it was always there. Obviously married to a Turkish woman for many years. There was an influence there from the Turkish music, passion for ancient Egypt, and also a passion for the lost culture of ancestry, you might say, the inklings of this Celticness on my father's side, the hint of the Anglo-Saxon thing on my mother's side. So all these things fuse together. So I think I want to upload this video. I'm just sitting here in my van on Bluebell Hill, just speaking, off the cuff, if you like. So I'm talking to myself, but this is my channel, so I can do what I want. And I want to document a lot of the stuff that nearly got finished, that was quite well planned out. Some of it actually recorded around Chris Francis's flat on his computer, some of it on mine, various stages, different stages of development for these tracks. Some of them full demos, some of them full demos without lyrics. So I'll just throw them up and I'll try and put them in an order whereby I'll get the stuff that's more bare bones, mainly guitar tracks. Basically, there is a full... unfortunately, I can't access the full album Snakes and Ladders because that's in Pro Tools in pieces and I just can't get to it. But a lot of that is in demo form anyway. That's the first planned album. And the second planned album was The Road of Kings. And I have demos and, it's the same with Snakes and Ladders, demos and completed tracks that were going to form that album. So I will definitely put everything in order the way that I imagined, because I've covered Snakes and Ladders stuff quite a lot on the channel. That's the earlier stuff. Seeing things in colours, it's like that was the earlier stuff was the black music. It was the colour was predominantly black with hints of electric blue or whatever. And the Road of Kings album was definitely more, even though it's got a strong British metal element to it, a strong Iron Maiden influence actually. There's a lot of Near Eastern stuff in that kind of vibe. So it took on a kind of sandy Egyptian, perhaps a little bit of Turkish mountains, the Taurus mountains, but definitely a desert colour in the mind. It was going to be that kind of sepia toned album. So I will let the colours reflect the two different stages in terms of the colours that I use in places. So yeah, see, this is where I gradually learned, like, it's difficult doing almost everything on your own. And thank God I recorded a lot of demos. Thank God I was, very, very busy. I don't have to feel guilty about not finishing these tracks. But at the same time, it's a shame that some of these riffs, that they're just hanging around on a computer, but they're in my phone now and they're going to be uploaded. So what I'll do is put the bare bones stuff up first, the more sparse demos, including the full Road of Kings album plan, and then I will upload some of the tracks that are more full, even if I'm not satisfied with the sound in places and things like that. And then I will culminate with the Nyarlathotep, which I'm really happy with the sound, and something I never planned to do. I didn't. It's just a weird thing that happened. I always used to imagine, what would it be like if you had electronic music that was so strongly influenced by thrash and death metal that formed the structure, that was the flow, the energy, the beat, but it was all synthetic, because I've never heard that until I did it, basically. So Nyarlathotep, obviously the Lovecraft story, and Egyptian as well. This is the culmination of that style, and I'm debating whether I should just add a few words here and there. I'm sure I can sort something out on my phone and put some effects on my voice or whatever, so it will be in keeping with the track. There are gaps, there are things that it's like I was supposed to do a version of Hammer of Thor with guitar on it, and that exists somewhere, but it's not really worth adding that or looking for it, because I've forgotten the rhythm of the lyrics. There's lots of things like that. It's, in one way, it's a shame, but I sort of have to forgive myself. It's like, God, you did a lot, almost entirely on your own. You did a lot. So let's document, for my own personal satisfaction, some of the best riffs I ever wrote, and song structures of songs that, if I didn't lose the ability to play guitar, if I could have carried on and certain things in life would have been different, and the Road of Kings would have been a seriously awesome album. Obviously some tracks from that I did record. The title track, The Road of Kings, Pyramid and Crimson Fields. So I'll just put something on the screen to indicate that those tracks would have been there. I've got a demo of Pyramid actually before the finished good demo version. It gets complicated. The whole thing's complicated in my head because I was working with too many songs, too many structures, mapping the whole thing in my head constantly over years, and trying to find the best sounds and mastering home recording. It's too much for one person when you're doing almost everything. Obviously, I had a big, what's the right word I'm looking for? A worthy contribution from Nicky Van Hoek in terms of some riffs that do appear in the songs. A worthy contribution from Neil Samuel on the Eschatology project. Some help from Chris Francis, a couple of solos. Few solos here and there from Chris Owen. So there have been other people that have helped me. With the exception of, Mercury, which is Dave Kilford's. Oh, I forgot to mention Dave Kilford as well, yeah. I did record guitar solos with Dave Kilford for the Snakes and Ladders album, which is, at this moment, irretrievable. I can't ever imagine myself setting up Pro Tools again, and the technology will probably change. It will be completely different by the time, who knows, but I can't imagine this will be possible. But if it is, I'll obviously delve in and sort those out, because I have whole sessions, Pro Tools sessions, of new songs and newly recorded old songs. So Dave Kilford did a few guitar solos, and he actually did some sort of underwater whale sea monster type sounds for Cthulhu for Tuggin. I can actually add them in when I make the video for it, actually, the audio presentation. That'll be good enough. I'll add those in. But yeah, Mercury is, in terms of real guitar tracks, it's the only track where someone else played guitar and bass too. But every single other Jekazol track that features real guitar, I would record all of the rhythm guitar and the harmonies, all that kind of stuff. So I'd get these other guys to do most of the guitar solos, although I did do 2 or 3 guitar solos myself, but obviously it's all credited. So you might say I followed the Metallica model in the same way that Master of Puppets was recorded, where Hetfield records all of the rhythm guitar, and then Kirk Hammett will come in and lay a solo on, and except I was doing the rhythm guitar, programming the drums, programming the bass, the keyboards, the mixing, the mastering, doing the art, which I didn't have enough time to really do it as good as it could have been because of just the demands on one person, right? So just did the best I could, and I ran out of time, and then this mysterious ailment that prevented me from playing guitar anymore, which is such a strange mystery. It's something to do with window cleaning and cold air and God knows what, but I just lost the ability to play in time. My hands would tense up, and the plectrum, I would lose the control. It's funny, it didn't affect my art. I can still draw as well as I ever could, but yeah, for some reason I think it might have been repetitive strain as well, because I wasn't holding my pick like the guys from Nile do, although I did learn that a bit later on to improve the speed. But you see, when you improve the speed using that kind of claw hand method, as you see in death metal, you lose some of the heavy attack. So the idea was to be able to switch between both methods. You see, I always held the pick like I held a pencil, because I spent a lot of years drawing. So I transferred the precision of art, drawing with a pencil or a pen, just straight onto the guitar. I just held the pick like I would hold a pen. And obviously you dig in to get a nice crunchy sound, so that when you start to speed that up, it's like it's endurance. And I honestly think that it was the wrong way to hold a pick if you want to play songs that were as fast as the end section of the Road of Kings. I think that contributed. So it was contributing factors: cold air, window cleaning, obviously water, repetitive strain, and maybe, who knows, it's in the stars or whatever, right? So, yeah. Just going to drop this video with all kinds of words that I've mispronounced and buggered up, because I'm in a strange mood, in a strange place, but I don't care, because I've largely lost that perfectionism. And I learnt this through Jekazol. It's like, God, man, like, just capture the moment, get it done. Any major mistakes, check things over, make sure there's no serious boo-boos. But, if you want everything to be absolutely perfect, you don't get much done. So it was only by tricking myself, saying, oh, this is a demo, that most of the songs were recorded. Because when it come to the final piece, I wanted everything to be so perfect that I would hear just the most minor inflection of a scratch of a pick on one note, and I'd be like, gotta do it again. Because I was trying to become almost like a machine in a way, because I was playing along with a drum machine, which was perfect. Although I did the usual things to make it a little bit more human in certain places, of course, but it was still so perfect, so strange time to make metal, just as the music scene is dying and technology is taking over. So it's like you get it's just like what with the internet today, right? It's like you get all the benefits of the technology, whilst at the same time the heart and soul of it seem to, it's like it's dying, because it doesn't have the same value anymore in the minds of, you might say, consumers or fans, enthusiasts. It's my watch beeping, my classic 80s Casio. The minds of the enthusiasts is a completely different world now. So Jekazol transitioned the cusp of that change, because back in the day you wouldn't have someone's messaging me now. You wouldn't have the ability to do so much on your own and it sound good. If you wanted to use a drum machine, it would be really, very archaic, and 4-track recorders and all that kind of stuff. It has its own charm. So Jekazol begins, I think I've said this before anyway, it begins on a digital, well, Screwworm, the band before Jekazol, is that we have 4-track recorders involved there. And then Jekazol begins with a digital 8-track. And then we move to having Pro Tools on a home computer, buying a good mic, using a Line 6 pod, which I think I got a lot out of that pod. And there's one particular frequency that I just took out, and I made sure I saved that setting. And it was unbelievable and you can hear it on the Eschatology project. Just removing that one frequency turned that sort of buzzy, fuzzy kind of slight, although it's fine, it's punky, it's cool if you're doing it on your own. You don't have to have the most perfect sound, but just removing that slight fuzz, just a particular frequency, was able to get more out of that classic kidney bean shaped Line 6 pod than most people, I think. And buying the magazines, learning about frequencies and recording, and all the words I've forgotten, learning how compression works and all kinds of strange things like, what are they called, like transient design, which I put on the drums on Eschatology to make the snare and the kick drum, give it that extra little bit of punch. And my screen's gone black because I'm talking too much. But you see, you take on too much, right? It's like back in the day, your art form would have been your guitar as a songwriter, myself being a rhythm player and singer, the voice as well. But all of a sudden you become the drummer through programming. You become the bass player through programming. You become the keyboard player through programming. Why did it all transpire this way? It's not only the technology, it's not only the time that it happened. And I needed other people to bring in guitar solos because that wasn't my speciality. I did a couple here and there, but that wasn't something that I was obsessed with. Yeah. So what is the main reason everything turned out the way it did, apart from the passion and the desire to create music, which is seeded in one's teenage years? It's because of the unreliability of people living in Kent, not in London, but close to London, but still too far away from London to access more musicians. So you're working with not a lot. And even if you're friends with these people and they're good guys and that, their lives change and things happen, and could never get a bass player, could never get a permanent drummer. So it's like, the drum machine stays, that's it. And so it's just like me and one other guy, and then that one other guy, obviously in terms of playing live, his life circumstances change, and then he's gone, and it's just me at home with the guitar, a microphone, a computer. It's like, let's finish some stuff off, let's get this done. And the odd friend pops around, I'll do a guitar solo. Did a little bit of writing with Neil Samuel, made a track with Dave Kilford. And there was one particular album which was Dave Kilford's own personal album, which he never released, or at least I can't find it anywhere on the internet the last time I looked. Basically, I mixed and mastered his. It's like, those albums you get where someone just plays guitar. It's all guitar stuff. It's all instrumental. A bit like Steve Vai type album or whatever. He did one of those. And because I was relaxed, because it wasn't my stuff, I learned how to get the sound just right, which you can hear on Eschatology. So I learned that on Dave Kilford's album, which will be one of the things that I upload soon. So as well as demos in all various kinds of stages, and eventually a fully realized synthetic metal track, Nyarlathotep, to be the last one that I upload from all this stuff. I'll try and make a kind of music video for it as well, just do something a bit more ambitious with the video. As well as all that stuff, there is the Dave Kilford album, which I believe the title track, Out of the Dark. So Out of the Dark. I will upload that, fully credit that to Dave Kilford, his guitar playing. All I did was add in some extra effects, keyboard sort of stuff, and some drum loops behind the drum programming that he put on there, and then obviously mixed it in terms of cutting out frequencies and doing all the volume levels, because luckily he hadn't bounced stems down. It was all like single tracks. This is all the guitar, this is all the bass, this is all the drums, this is all the keyboard. So I could really go in and sculpt the sound of this mini album, Out of the Dark. And it is a really great little mini album. And I'm very proud of the very professional sound that I got for Dave, which is how I built up the skills in order to record, which I will always regard as the best sounding thing on my channel, which is the Eschatology project. So yeah, there you go. It's like Jekazol. It's like the one-man band with help from a few mates here and there. You know, had visions and dreams of turning it into a full band, recording albums and all that, but just circumstances and people problems and God knows what. It just changes in technology, changes in how the music industry works and all that kind of stuff. It's just, we were entering new territory. Had a bit of bad luck, or you might call it destiny. So it just is what it is. And I'm very proud of it. I'm very proud that I had a lot of musician friends knocking around back in the day, and most of my friends up until 2020 really were through music. So I feel a lot of pride that I recorded and preserved so much, whether it was recorded tracks, demos, live, whatever, even a documentary video and things that I probably forgot right now, collaborations. Such a nice feeling to know that all that time spent in the bedroom desperately trying to work out how this strange occult mystery of the guitar and music creation, what is this strange mystery? I need to access the realm of the gods, if you like, and discover the secrets. So I like to think that I did, but I was just too ambitious, and fate and destiny and strange circumstances and annoying circumstances changed the outcome, if you like. So yeah, there's going to be a whole load of new stuff uploaded. So that will create a false impression of the channel, because if people come on, it'll be like, oh, all the newer stuff's all this weird demo stuff or whatever. So what I'll do is, once I've recorded all of that stuff that I've got left hanging around, which definitely is worth sharing, especially the full, or in various stages of full recorded demos, or whatever. Jesus Christ, it's complicated. It's all so complicated. It's all really worth sharing. So, but because it will be the latest stuff, it will kind of push the more fully realized stuff back behind. So what I'll do is, once I've uploaded all this extra stuff and demos and weird stuff, I think what I'll do is I'll get those tracks that I put into separate videos and actually get them into the full EPs that they belong to on a CD, and then obviously reformat them, just give them obviously it's exactly the same music, but put them all on the same video so they're consecutive, and it will be in fact, what I'm thinking about doing is getting the the JKZL demo, then the Road of Kings demo, and then Eschatology, all in a row on one video, and then adding in some of the more accomplished demo or realized tracks like, Far From God and Ravenor and all that kind of stuff. Just put it into an album. So there'll be like even though it wasn't planned that way, the channel will culminate with a Jekazol album, basically, which the artwork will be black and white because of the various differences in colours in my mind of the different stuff. That'll be the way to solve it. Obviously suffering or benefiting from synesthesia. So yeah, all this weird stuff to upload. Obviously one of them being Dave Kilford's album, mini album. Crown it all off with a great synthetic metal track, Nyarlathotep. And then add basically make a Jekazol album from the best of the guitar-based, proper metal Jekazol, and organise that in such a way with a great piece of artwork where there's something that can just be chucked on, press play, whatever, tap the screen or click the mouse. And although it wasn't the album that was meant to be, it's the album that became. So if anyone can be asked to listen to all that waffling, I'm just doing it for me. I'm doing it so my channel makes sense. On each individual video, I will be careful to add in all of the information that no one's going to read, more or less, so the whole thing makes sense. And so that will be a way of really crowning off the channel. And the only way after that anything's ever going to end up on the channel after that would be if by some miracle, a few years in the future, if I'm able to set up Pro Tools again and access those, what do they call them? The, Pro Tools track file or whatever it is with all the individual WAV files. If I can just load that up into a new version of Pro Tools and it's all still working, there's no issues concerning that, then I will very likely add a few extras, which would be, say, for instance, Burn the World, and a couple of other tracks that were fully recorded, but they just didn't have vocals on them. But like I say, because they're in pieces, because they're in WAV files, there's not I didn't burn like a demo version of that, to listen to or whatever, or to send to anyone. That means it only exists in pieces. But if I don't do that, it doesn't really matter, because thinking about it, I think after I've finished, every single track that I wrote or at least planned, demoed out, will be documented on the channel. So the only things that will be missing will be different versions of what's already there. So I will be satisfied. I probably couldn't be bothered to do that anyway, because my life's moved into a different area now, which is where I was always going to go. The things that I would sing about, a lot of the subjects, the vibe that I was drawn to write songs about, I was obviously exploring that through music until I would arrive there with the fullest of my being, if you like. So yeah, just chuck that down. So if anyone's can be bothered to sit through my rant, they will understand how the channel resolves itself. I did think about making a video actually and talking about, because what it's like, you do music for so many years, there's lots of stories and interesting stuff to share, and a few squabbles and stories from the gigging stage. I think it was 2007 to 2009 was the live stage of Jekazol, going way back to being in a band as teenagers with Screwworm. There's so many interesting stories and stuff like that, but I don't think they really matter. I think what matters is the end product and a demonstration of ability, which is a phrase from the new world that I come from at present, at the time of the recording of this audio video right now. All those little stories, whatever, we'll just keep the mystery of the desperate urge to discover the secrets of heavy metal and recording and to be like one's heroes. You know, that metal is the lifeblood, right? That form of music, to be alive at a particular time, to see that change. So as a teenager, you know, saw Slayer live, obviously Iron Maiden and Megadeth and all kinds of bands, you know, Testament and Motorhead. Obviously that wouldn't be possible now, you know. Captured that, you know, that time. I actually had a list that I wrote on the I had it up in the kitchen on a cupboard. Actually, I wrote every band that I really want to see, because I thought, I know this era is coming to an end, this particular time where, you see, metal's not new anymore. It's pretty much gone through all of its phases, and now it recycles itself in perpetuity as this beautiful thing which can be recycled, and there'll always be new songs and new people. But I really think every form of metal, it's been done. But to have become a metal fan in 1988 and to have seen, you know, the early stage of, or the mid stage of thrash metal, and to be there when death metal was new, and you know, the first time you heard an album like Fear Factory's Demanufacture, which is a really big influence, like, God, this very sort of solid, computerized, rigid sound with samples, and obviously it's influenced by lots of other stuff, like everything is, but you saw new things, you experienced new things. And then just as it kind of reached its climax, and I mean, Nile baffled me as well. It's like, oh my God, what is this? It's just unreal stuff. And too much to go into, but in terms of the evolution of recording, as an enthusiast, as someone at home that wants to record, to have gone from 4-track recorder all the way to home recording, to have seen the music industry die, for it to have lost much of its magic in a way, and the thing that made it more real, you know, going and buying an album in terms of an LP or a tape, or, you know, later a CD, and then to see it sort of MP3s, and then, you know, right now, whatever music, I think I got 1,000 CDs in boxes at my friend's house. Obviously, I can't remember all of them, but like, if I think, that album, Dreamweaver by Sabbath, all I've got to do is type it into YouTube and listen to it through an ad blocker on my headphones while I'm working. I don't need the CD anymore. You know, it's like, it's a completely different world, you know. And obviously, as you get older, you realize, unless you were lucky enough to make an impact in the world of music where it validates itself as an adult, it's not something you can really carry into your adult years. Not for most people anyway, in a way that is where the time is validated, you know. So it's nice to have got most of it out of the way before moving into one's 40s. So now I'm just simply cataloguing and laying down that experience that, you know, led to new things. But yeah, just that time period, it's not going to come again. It was something new, and I kind of realised that. That's why I've been very careful to be a cataloguist, to preserve things, because it's like, you can't really go through those stages now these days. Like a young guy, it usually is a guy, but, you know, obviously modern times and all that, but it usually is a young guy sat in his bedroom playing guitar. He can have a recording set up, and it's not going to be radically expensive, even in the, you know, the state of the UK the UK at the moment. It's still going to be possible for anyone with, you know, any kind of means, right? It's going to be possible to have, if you put in the time, if you put in the effort, a great sound, to have something that sounds good, those old shitty demos, it's like that's just a product of laziness these days. Like or doing it on purpose. You can't go back to those times. So to have those Screwworm 4-track demo that's really rough and ready and, full of teenage spit and sawdust, if you like, or whatever, to go through the whole process of digital to, Pro Tools on the computer and all that. There's an innocence there, and there's a love of a particular type of music or related types of metal that were interbleeding and twisting and turning into one thing. There might have been a slight new metal influence here and there, but what we've got now with modern metal, it's like it's either a tribute act towards a certain sound of a particular time, or it's this completely streamlined modern, usually with very sort of high-pitched, screechy vocals, heavy keyboard presence, a very strong, what would you call it, progressive element. Yeah, it's not... You kind of really had to be there, or you need to be a very unusual person these days to say, you know what, just going to listen to 80s metal. And, a band like Grand Magus or whatever, where they purposefully do something of a particular time, and that's wonderful. But the guy was there, the guy is of an age where he was there at the time. So it's going to be more difficult for someone, a young person they're not going to have those same experiences with the value of an LP that he had to buy in order to hear. That you wouldn't even necessarily know what the musicians looked like. You wouldn't really know what they were like. They wouldn't have an online presence. There wouldn't be endless videos to watch. There was so much more mystique, but most importantly, more a way of life and a code of honor. The way that you dress, the kind of t-shirts that you wear, this signal that you were sending out to other people. It's like, I'm a metalhead, and that means something, because it's an investment on all levels. But you see, everything has changed, hasn't it? Like, you had those eras, you might call it, you might think of it as decades of fashion. So in the 60s there's a particular look, 70s a particular look, obviously the oldest metal in the late 70s, which is obviously very different to what we have today. So metal proper coming about, how we think of it in the 80s, a particular look. The 90s, particular looks and attitudes developed. Death metal was new, like I said. There's a particular look and style to thrash metal, and I think it was around about the year 2000 where a particular style and a particular way of dressing just sort of died, and we've kind of looked the same since then. You see these little fashions, and this is not really too important when it comes to music, but it is related. You do see these certain little fashions, things that particular hairstyle or a particular type of music, like the obsession with a breakdown or whatever, and but it's just this same old, everything's been done, and you just either be completely modern, which is a mixture of everything with the most perfect sound, but whatever, or you choose a particular era that you didn't actually live in if you're young, right? Because obviously us geezers, we're gonna be, we are starting to die out. Not my generation, the generation before me. You start to see guys from Iron Maiden pass away very sadly, and Slayer retired, and or have they? And that's why I wrote that list on the kitchen cupboard, ticked it off. Yeah, I mean, I'd seen Slayer and Maiden anyway, so I ticked off Testament. I ticked off Motorhead. funny, there were so many bands on that list, and I'm finding it hard to remember them. Some of them. Let me pause for a moment to remember. Yeah, bands like Nile and Entombed and Obituary, just purposefully, even though it was kind of uncomfortable. Many that I can't remember without, looking or whatever. But even though it's kind of uncomfortable, it's like, I'm going to get down to London, because it's kind of difficult when you live in Kent, because the last train is about midnight, which is just so annoying. Because usually they play the last track at about 11 or half 11, and you'd have to run to the train station. Or sometimes, as in the case of the Motorhead gig, I just have to leave early. But I just put up with all that crap in order to see all of my favourite bands live. There was only one that I didn't. There's only one band that I really love at that particular time, that era, that particular time, to draw up a list that I didn't actually get to see, and that was Judas Priest. That was obviously, I saw Megadeth again. Lots of bands that I love, and I didn't write Metallica on that list, because I feel that I got to see Metallica at their best, really, which was the Black Album era. And although I like a few tracks here and there, but I'm not really a fan of anything after the Black Album. But everything before and including the Black Album, I have to say, is the biggest influence on everything that I've ever thrown on this channel. It just is. The idea of a rhythm guitar player, because you have to be able to sing and play at the same time, which is a tricky art form. So everything was written with that in mind. And the more that you merge with computer technology, you're asking yourself, why am I doing this? I can just kind of do what I want, and it don't, I'm not playing live anymore. But you see, this is where, the art of being a live band, like I say, straddling the two worlds, it's all there. There's a little bit of everything in there. So you might call it, there's a curve from innocence to the glory days, to the modern era, to the death of music as a valuable industry that, in that classic way, until we get to this modern sort of choose what era you're interested in and just dress like that and listen to bands like that if you so desire. But most people, we kind of all look similar anyway. You can tell who's a normie, right? If you're someone that loves, I don't know, Slayer or whatever, it's not so easy to tell anymore. Everything's kind of leveled out. Those partisan days are also over. So I started talking, didn't I, about just what I want to lay on my channel, just for my own benefit. And then I like to think that I've sort of given this kind of overview of how everything changed, and how that is kind of mirrored in this overly ambitious project, but a longing, a need to be creative and to lay something down. And changes of life circumstance and misfortune and fate and all that kind of stuff, it's all mirrored in that same arc, if you like. It's all relevant to me. And if anyone has listened to me waffle all the way to the end of this video, then I will virtually, in the cyber world, give you the devil's horns, even though that seems a bit naff now these days. In a way, it's still, there's still something there. There's still meaning there for individuals. There are particular albums that one can throw on that will evoke memories and will pull on the heartstrings, right? It all comes back. There are particular albums, Sabaton has been largely responsible, and Amon Amarth as well a couple of years ago. But recently, Sabaton has got me through so many days at work. That positivity, that marching beat, that the call to victory and all that. So yeah, it's a love of music, but at the same time, it's also a thing of sadness. So with that, I will give you that virtual devil's horns to whoever made it to the end. And yeah, this is just for my benefit. Let's, over the next however long it takes until we get to realistically the last upload, Nyarlathotep, let's just lay everything down, everything that's left. Let's complete the Jekazol YouTube channel. And there might be a couple that have come here via my other channel anyway, but for those interested in like me, you want to experience the things that you sing about. You sing about these particular subjects, and you actually, I'm going to waffle on for just a few more seconds, and that is, I remember saying to a friend years back when I first discovered metal, like, how can you listen to this and not want to do it? How can you listen to it and not want to do it? So it's been the same thing that's carried on for years. So it's like, how can I write songs about this stuff and not do it? And that even translated into my other channel becoming also a podcast as well. So if you haven't found your way here, check out the link in the description for my alter ego, Broderick Wallace, which also will not make a lot of sense immediately. And even if you are of a similar leaning, but there is a podcast evolving on that channel, When the Stars Are in the Right Place. Take care. Oh, P.S. I forgot to mention also the Eldritch Knights 3-track CD, whatever it was going to be as well. So cheers, take care.